Oftentimes, when a Japanese game comes to the US, little elements are changed for the release. Decap Attack changed so much that it looks completely different from the Japanese original. Released on the Genesis in 1991, Decap Attack is a side-scrolling platformer where you control a mummy named Chuck D. Head. Very clever. Gameplay-wise, it's more or less what you'd expect from a side-scroller of that era. Moving between platforms, fighting with enemies, and avoiding pesky hazards like lava pits. The game is set on an island shaped like a skeleton, with levels named after different body parts. For some reason, Chuck has two heads. One seems to be located in his torso, which he extends to attack enemies. The other is a skull that he can throw a bit like a boomerang. The graphics are nicely animated, but kind of muddy and grim, which I suppose is sort of the theme with the rest of Decap Attack. The early areas of the game lean strongly into a spooky horror atmosphere. There's ghosts, werewolves, and trees full of skulls. What's weird is that at certain points it feels like the game forgets the horror vibe entirely when it throws otters and penguins wearing top hats at you. Even stranger, this isn't the only version of the game. In Japan, Decap Attack was released as okay. Magical Hat no Butobi Turbo Daikuben. Magical Hat uses the same core design, same general progression, and even some of the same level layout. But the biggest difference is everything layered on top, the paint job, so to speak. The Japanese version was tied directly to the Magical Hat anime. That license didn't carry over internationally, so the character and branding couldn't be used in the US release. Where the Japanese version uses bright colors and recognizable characters from the show, the version that was brought over to the US looks dramatically different. Characters were replaced, most of the art was redrawn, the music was changed, and the story was rewritten. Instead of a mummy, Magical Hat starred a little kid in a turban. Instead of throwing her own skull, you chucked this little guy, little Eggman. Additionally, there are also some core mechanical changes. Magical Hat is quite hard, and in many cases, getting hit means losing a life immediately. Decap Attack added a health system, which gives you more room to recover, and makes the game easier to push through, even though the movement and enemy placement can still be annoying. Trying to land these little fluttery float jumps, it will make you want to snap your controller in half. But Magical Hat also restores your health between stages, something that Decap Attack does not. So I suppose it's a bit of a toss-up on difficulty. Unfortunately, both games do occasionally make you find a key before you can beat a certain level, which is super tedious. Decap Attack isn't the only time a game has changed so dramatically for Western audiences. Probably the most famous example of this would be the game Doki Doki Panic, a weird little platformer that was transformed for Western audiences into Super Mario 2. Once again, the names and the character models were changed, although enemies like Shy Guys and Birdo existed in Doki Doki Panic first. Tetris Attack, a game that has no relation to Tetris, was released on the Super Nintendo with characters from Mario and Yoshi's Island. But the original Japanese game is known as Panel de Pon and featured fairy characters and sprites. Decap Attack never took off beyond the initial game, but for some reason it did have a long-running panel in the UK Sonic the Comic from 1993 to 1998. I suppose that's because Brits love mummies. No, seriously, Google Victorian unwrapping parties, it's bizarre. Decap Attack was a distinctive platformer in an age full of them. I don't know if it's a must-play game, but the history is very interesting, and I'd be curious to see what a sequel or remake would bring.